Jai. Om Namo Narayanaya to revered Prarajika Ishtaprana Mataji, Dr. Usha Vastare, and loving devotees. It gives me great joy to welcome you to our special program to celebrate Women's Day. Sri Sarada Devi says, "Never fear, God is ever looking after you. Do his work and practice spiritual disciplines. A little work daily drives away idle thoughts from the mind." We are very happy to have Dr. Vastare as our guest speaker this morning. Dr. Vastare is an international speaker, renowned neuroscientist, teacher, writer, and social worker. She presents papers at international conferences and has been interviewed on several TV and radio channels in India and the US. Her interest is to bring science and spirituality together for holistic living. Kindly note that if time permits, there will be a question and answer session after the talk. Dr. Vastare's topic is Balancing Roles and Responsibilities as Guided by Sri Sarada Devi. We lovingly invite Dr. Vastare to address us.
पकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। My loving pranams at the feet of the Holy Trio. My loving pranams to Mataji and followers of devotion and seekers of knowledge. The topic I've been given, as you see, it's balancing roles and responsibilities as guided by Sri Sarada Devi. We understand balancing roles and responsibilities. As long as it's guided by Sri Sarada Devi, our Holy Mother, we are going to be safe. Not only are we going to be safe, but we're also going to be successful. What do I mean by this statement? We will see. For this, I have chosen one message. A single message of Holy Mother is enough to carry us through this life. And that message is the mind will eventually turn into your own guru. This is the highest knowledge that one can get, the highest jnana. And it's not just dry intellectual knowledge. Holy Mother has shown this by putting into action in her life. And when we do this, that purifies our mind. And we also have to have a level of purification of mind to be able to do this. And importantly, especially with respect to the topic today, we need to love the work that we do. We need to love the role that we are playing. This, we will look at it from both Vedantic perspective and neuroscience perspective. Holy Mother stands for the highest kind of womanhood, which commands equality and liberation. And this equality and liberation is not based on the modern feminism, but on spiritual oneness with all beings as represented by our Vedantic tradition. This is what I call as spiritual feminism. And the focus for today, the Women's Day here, that I'm so privileged to be celebrating with you all today, is on balancing roles and responsibilities and attaining the goals by utilizing one's own innate potential to the fullest extent possible. This again, we are going to look at it from Vedantic and neuroscience perspective. So it's about the roles and responsibilities and figuring out our innate potential. What are the roles that we play as women? Could be as a mother, a sister, wife, a friend. And the responsibilities we might have is about caring, nurturing, even making a difference financially for the family, earning as an earning member, and maintaining everything with equanimity at home. When we do this, we know it makes a huge difference in the lives of people around us. So what is the potential that we have? All of us have the innate potential, which is, whether we know it or not, we have more than 1 billion brain cells. And each brain cell or a neuron can communicate anywhere between 10,000 other neurons to up to 1 lakh or 100,000 other neurons. That kind of communication is so powerful. And we have many different qualities or functions of mind, which I call powers of mind. It could be our discerning power to differentiate what is good and what is evil. It could be our willpower. It could be our self-awareness or the free will. These are the powers of mind that only humans have, and no other animal species has to the extent that we have these powers of the mind. Ultimately, what and how do we use these powers is the entire question. The whole question is, how do we use this innate potential that we have within us? We need to remember, and we know, and we already do this. This is to make a difference in people's lives. That reminds me of Swamiji's statement saying that you become the master of your mind. When we master our mind, that also purifies our mind. Not only that, he goes on to say further that you should work like masters and not as slaves, but work incessantly, but don't do a slave's work. We will see what I mean by this statement from a neuroscience perspective. And why? Why is it not possible to work like masters? And why is it not possible to master our mind? And neuroscience says that without any exception, we are all hardwired for biases. And one of the biases, we call that very simply negativity bias, which results in what we call as automatic negative thoughts. As the picture depicts, it's an acronym, ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. what happens because of this negativity bias? There is an accumulation of automatic negative thoughts or ands, wherein anything that is negative in our mind, be it may a thought or an emotion or a feeling or a memory or a perception or a negative experience, sticks like Velcro in our minds, whereas something that is positive gets washed off. As a result of that, we get into these errors in our thinking patterns. And let's just focus on two errors in our thinking patterns, which are defending ourselves and blaming ourselves or external circumstances or blaming people. We need to watch out for all these errors in our thinking patterns, and especially defending and blaming, because these are later on become our hardwired habits. When there is an accumulation of automatic negative thoughts, what happens? The mind acts like a pendulum going back and forth between past and future. And we look at past with regret, and we look at future with anxiety and pessimism. And whatever is happening in the present moment is not satisfactory to us. And so we start blaming and defending in the present moment. Because of this bias, never allows us to be in the present moment. And whether we know it or not, at the level of action, only thing that we have is the present moment. At the level of mind, we have past and future. But when we have to think about doing something, putting anything to action, it can only be in the present moment. But what happens as a result of this negativity bias, or as a result of accumulation of these automatic negative thoughts? We procrastinate. We keep putting things off. And now we know, forget about balancing our roles and responsibilities. We won't even be able to complete our responsibilities because of one simple thing as procrastination. So what is the solution for this? Very simple. All we need to do is to prevent procrastination, that we can do by overcoming our automatic negative thoughts. And secondly, we need to have an attitudinal shift towards whatever we do, towards our role, towards our responsibilities, towards whatever we do. We need to have an attitudinal shift. I'll just go a bit deeper into each of this two solutions, and then we'll be able to understand what I mean by this. How do we prevent procrastination? You know, there's a saying, to err is human. We all know that. But to blame it on somebody is even more human. We may not have realized this. So all we need to do is to figure out this blaming either could be the cause of procrastination, or it could be the result of procrastination. Either way, blaming is the culprit, because that is what leads to or result of procrastination. So all we need to do is to take care of just two types of thoughts: blaming and defending. If we can be aware of those blaming and defending thoughts and stop them by increasing our self-awareness, this is how we can prevent procrastination. The second solution, as I said, is the attitudinal shift. All we need to do is just do whatever we need to do. not think twice about it. Just do whatever needs to be done, but also keep in mind that we need to be doing the right thing each time and every time. Many times we focus on doing things right rather than doing the right thing. If we keep doing the right thing, this is what leads to Holy Mother's message that our mind can become our own guru. So just leading, just doing leads to self-discipline. This is like icing on the cake, bonus. So what is that self-discipline? If we keep doing the things that we need to do, leading to self-discipline, which is nothing but doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. So just doing it is another technical word. Scientific word is what we call as being mindful. The other solution, what is the attitudinal shift that we need to think about? Karma, as you know, any action is nothing but karma. There are many, many meanings for karma, but the simplest meaning, the meaning that we need to take here to make that attitudinal shift is we need to convert anything that we do, any action, which is nothing but karma, into karma yoga. When we do this, this is where we become masters of our mind and not slave to our instincts. I don't need to go into detail about what karma yoga is for this audience, and that too not today, maybe a topic for another day. But converting any action, karma, into karma yoga is the shift in our attitude that we need to make to prevent procrastination. So karma resulting in karma yoga or converting into karma yoga. Scientifically, this is what we call it as the stage of evolving. When we look at any action as just an action, oh, it is my duty, it is my responsibility that I have to do, we are what we call it as quote unquote in the survival mode. When we take that responsibility or action as a way to be evolving, that is the whole crux of converting any karma into karma yoga. There is a prerequisite for this. It's not so easy to convert any action into karma yoga. Our goal has to be self-knowledge, to understand ourselves, which leads to self-realization. If we don't have this goal, no matter how much we try, it is not going to be karma yoga. It can be volunteering. There is a huge difference between volunteering and karma yoga. We use it synonymously in West. That's a different thing. But if we go deeper, we will see there's a huge difference between volunteering, service, and service or karma yoga. So as long as our goal is self-knowledge, to understand ourselves, which will lead to self-realization, because understanding ourselves is about self-realization. That reminds me of a quote by Rumi, mystic, Sufi mystic Rumi. He says, I went looking for God. I only found myself. I went looking for myself. I found God. So there's hardly any difference between self-knowledge and self-realization. So if we can convert the responsibilities into opportunities to evolve, or convert our duties into opportunities to evolve, this is how we convert any karma into karma yoga. So to conclude with Sharda Devi's message that we started off in the beginning, that the mind will turn eventually into your guru. I depicts brings in the Holy Mother's message is nothing but scriptural knowledge. She says it in very, very simple terms, but it's Vedantic message. And combine it with the neuroscience aspect. I would like to end with a story. The story of wolves. In this short story, a grandfather describes to his grandson his internal battles by exposing fight within him. One being a good and the other in
greed, false pride versus kindness, humility, and love occurs in each and everyone's mind. Keeping this parable in mind, depending on which wolf we feed, we can balance the roles and responsibilities. But the truth is, it is a lot easier to feed the evil wolf than the good wolf. The evil wolf encourages the simple way out. It's easy and tempting to complain, to blame, and put things off or procrastinate, and sometimes even give up. However, the second wolf is harder to feed. It requires discipline. It requires motivation and determination. All of these take a lot of effort and courage. And also, they don't produce immediate results. But all we need to do is to just remember three things. First, that we have the power to choose our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our behavior. In other words, we have the power to choose to turn on and off our emotional circuitry. The second one is feeding the good wolf is how we tap into our innate potential to the best of our ability so that we can balance our roles and responsibilities by working as a master and also working incessantly. The final message is by overcoming our biases or overcoming the biases is the first step towards purifying our mind. Chitta Shuddhi, that as Holy Mother says, the mind will eventually turn into our own guru. So to combine the neuroscience again, along with Holy Mother's scriptural knowledge, I started off saying that by following Holy Mother's message, we can be successful too. What does that mean to be successful? It's not just about name and fame and money, acquiring all of this, but it's something very different. And this Holy Mother has shown all of us by leading a life that we need to follow. And that message would be, let us not fear the future, but shape our future to make a difference in people's lives. Making a difference in people's lives is the new definition of being successful. This, according to me, is what Holy Mother has shown us by leading such a life.